have Richard Katz, who's our immediate past master, and then we have the chairman of the charity trustees, who is also an immediate past master, Lee Baildon. And then we have Anne Reed, who is an assistant to the trustees. And then joining us from the Kernow Learning Academy is Polly Manier and Simon Rove. So I'll hand over to you, Lee.
We're so delighted to be finally getting to this place. You are going to be the, well, I suppose the Leviathans of the southwest of England. We have never been this far away from London in terms of our projects. I think as far as we've got to nearly Darlington and the northeast. But this is a very, very new, brave step for us. And as you may have gathered, one of our members who lives in Cornwall is watching today. And of course, all of these people are terribly important to me because they support our charity fund, so along with our other members. So that really sort of puts it into context. Now, once upon a time, of course, before this odd problem that we've had over the last 16, 17 months, I would arrive at a school somewhere, probably present them with a cheque and hopefully talk to some smiling children. But of course, that's been forced upon us now. We can't do it quite like that. But nonetheless, I was delighted to be able to carry on the conversation that Polly had started. I think it was way back at the beginning of 2019, wasn't it, Polly? Something like that. Anyway, when we first started the conversation, and at that time, I wasn't quite sure whether or not our reach was going to be far enough. But here we are today. Now, this is also another very exciting step for us. We have worked with groups of schools, or where a resource has been provided, initially on the Isle of Wight with a group of schools there, and subsequent to that in more recent times up in the West Midlands in the Leamington Spa area. But this, I think, is going to be our blueprint for the future, whereby the money that we give to assist a group of schools, of course, goes that much further, and delighted to see there are as many as 19 schools in your group. So thousands of children hopefully will enjoy the experience, and quite frankly, having read the application, and well, as we all have, I hope Paul has circulated it, it looks like they're going to have a really rather good time as well, which of course is all about inspiring and helping them to learn. So it would be remiss of me if I didn't mention our late, greatly loved father of the company, Michael Nathan, because it is as a result, sadly, of his passing, but his family's generosity, and indeed the lecture, the Ravenscroft lecture that we had, that raised sufficient funds for us to be able to support this initiative with Kernow. So we are extremely grateful to both Jenny and her family and all of the other members that were able to support that event. And of course, it is, I think, an absolutely wonderful memory for the father of the company, the late father of the company, Michael Nathan. Perhaps Polly, Simon, over to you. Tell us a little bit about what you're going to do.
Okay, thank you very much, Lee, and hello everybody. It's lovely to meet you all, albeit over the virtual way, but it's really a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to take some time to talk to you about the project and just us as a learning trust, and hopefully you'll see what a wonderful impact you will have on the children which we look at within their learning. So just an overview of our Academy Trust then. So we're the Kernow Learning Academy Trust, and we currently have 19 schools in Cornwall, spread right across. And our schools are split into 4 hubs, and I'll talk about a bit more about that later when it comes to the organisation of our Launch Aspirations project, which we'll be discussing today. Lots of our schools being in Cornwall are from sort of significantly deprived areas, and so we have a real sort of focus for our trust in providing aspirations for our children. for helping them to see the possibilities in their future and getting them excited about learning and sort of expanding their horizons. And so this is what our project is looking to do. Across our trust, we have identified science as being a really big priority for us because we feel it's a subject really important, especially as we move on into the future. But it's also a subject which inspires children to explore the world around them, and we look forward to continuing to do that. So as part of that, we have this year begun working with the Ogden Trust, who is a group who is about inspiring children to go on to take on science in the future. And we have now announced that we're also going to be doing that across the whole entire trust, which means that next year the whole trust will be working together to push science in the future.
Which is 19 schools, isn't it? I don't think we mentioned, yes, so it's 19 primary schools. Yeah. 19
primary schools, yeah, exactly. So so we're looking at about, I think it's 4,795 children on the last census, I think, Holly, was the number. Yeah. So yes, so there's a lot of children, and our plan from our Launch Aspirations projects is to ensure that actually all of our children throughout their school career will benefit from the project and from the money. Widely agreed to donate. I think, Paul, did you create a video? Should we stop there to show about some of the science which we currently do in our trust? And then we'll talk about the project which we're hoping to put in September.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you very much.
Just 1 second.
Hi, I'm Ellie, and I'm a scientist. My name is Bonnie, and I'm doing a science experiment. First, we need a milk bottle. You'll need a candle and stick it on the top of your egg. And finally, you'll need some glasses, because in case there's an explosion, they make you look cool.
Hello. Today I will be experimenting the force with a simple thought experiment called Newton's Cradle. This toy was named after Sir Isaac Newton.
Static electricity is an imbalance of electric charges on the surface of a material. Rubbing a balloon on your hair makes the balloon negatively charged and your hair positively charged. Opposite charges attract and like charges repel. Here's static electricity in action.
Hi, today I'll be making a bottle rocket that will hopefully launch into the air. So first you'll actually need the bottle, you'll need a bicarbonate of soda, some clear vinegar, some tape, a bottle cork, a pen, I've got a Sharpie, 3 pencils that are roughly the same size, and a piece of card or paper.
Hello, my name is Oscar, and today we're going to learn about magnets. A magnet is an object that is attracted to any ferromagnetic metal. The magnet will not stick to this drink can because it is made from aluminium, but it will stick to this spring as it is made from iron. Magnets have a north, and South Pole, just like planet Earth. In fact, the Earth is a giant magnet. A magnet works by the North and South Poles sticking together or attracting. If you try to join a North to a North or a South to a South, they don't stick together, they repel. Magnets are found in most electronic devices such as televisions, computers, and speakers. I'm now going to show you the magic and visible effect of magnetism. Thank you for watching.
What have we done in Science Week?
We've seen them in the year 6 countdown to shoot the rockets up.
Oh, how did they make the rocket shoot up?
Like the pumper, and then if you count to 3, and then the person has to do 4 pumps, and then if you do the last pump, it'll...
Welcome to my science experiment. It's called Magic Milk, and this is what you need. So you need a shallow tray or bowl, just like this. You need full fat milk. It has to be full fat or it won't work. Food dye, any colour, and washing up liquid, and cotton wool on a stick. So let's do the experiment. So first we put some of this onto our stick. There we go. Then we put food dye in. So first I'm going to do blue, little drops. 1, 2, 3. So you can see here that they're in. I'm going to put this in and look what happens. Whoa! Whoa! So you're probably wondering, how is this happening? So it's happening when the washing up liquid is added to the milk, the soap, it reduces the surface tension of the milk so that the food colouring can spread out. The soap grabs hold of the fat in the milk, just like when you do the washing up, it holds onto the grease.
Hello, so today I'm going to be doing absorbent. So all you need is a large bucket of water and a fruit. So I'm using lemon, and I got one peeled and I got one peeled. So first of all, I'm going to pop this lemon into the water and see if it sinks or floats. So it floats. And even if I do this, it still floats. So now I'm going to pop this peeled lemon into the water. So it's sunken down. And that's also because that I left it in the water for a few minutes so it could absorb more water, but then it will sink. So the longer you leave it in, the more deep it will sink. So the reason that this one is floating is because it's got skin around it. So the skin is waterproof and it protects it from all the water getting in, so it can't absorb anything. However, this one has no skin on it, so there are many holes inside so that the water cannot get in, and the lemon will start absorbing the water, then it will get heavier and heavier and sink down. So that's how it works. You can also use a tangerine or a lime or an orange, something that you can peel like a lemon. So bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Jack and welcome to my science experiment. I am going to demonstrate kinetic and potential energy. Here I am making a basic lever with 2 lollipop sticks, a rubber band and a wooden block. The potential energy is stored in the rubber bands which are under tension. I place one lever into another one. Once the setup is complete, it's time for the countdown. Thanks for watching. Bye. On Monday we dissected a pouting fish. It was quite fun.
But it was definitely gooey and wet.
It was a bit slimy and most of its scales kept coming off, but I managed to take out its eyeballs.
All the scales stuck to your hands, and when we cut it open, it looked really funny inside.
I managed to rip out its heart and its guts.
All its guts were disgusting. Its teeth were very sharp.
And we also made a volcano yesterday, and all we did was put 13 millilitres of vinegar and bicarbonate of soda together, and it erupted, and my hand smelled like vinegar for the rest of the whole day.
It was like a giant eruption happening, and the chemicals reacted together.
And yesterday we made a spaghetti and marshmallow tower. It was very fun but very frustrating at the same time.
The forces were different, so the marshmallows were soft and heavy, so it caused the spaghetti to break and fall down.
And today we're going to be doing something that we don't know about yet. To be honest, I do think we should do a lot more science weeks.
Yep. We want to be scientists.
We both want to be scientists.
Oh gosh.
What's up, man?
This week we've been doing lots of fun science experiments. On Monday we had to define mini beasts in microhabitats. Then we tried to make different shapes of bubbles, but then we found out that we couldn't make the different shapes. Then the next day we done a flower experiment, and we had to see if the petals change colour, but it hasn't changed colour yet. And just a minute ago we done a rocket one, and we had long balloons and normal balloons, and we had to time them to see if the long balloons went faster than the small balloons.
My experiment is about greenhouse gases. What are greenhouse gases? Greenhouse gases work together to create a shield that stops the warmth from escaping the world's atmosphere. What would happen if we had too much greenhouse gases? Well, it would get warmer. But there's nothing wrong about that. Well, there is. The icebergs will melt, and then it will make the sea go above the world, and then it will take over everything. This tells me how hot it is in my world. Right now it's 16. I can tell it because it's lighted up. Stick it in the desert. We're going to be back in 30 minutes to see what the temperature is. I'm back and I just checked my thermometer. It says it's 28 degrees. The icebergs have melted and it's made the desert and the land wetter. The way children can help stopping this from happening is to plant trees, ride your bike to school instead of a car, recycle and save electricity. So that means when you leave a room, turn your stuff off. It will affect our future if the world becomes this.
What about you? What have you enjoyed doing in Science Week?
I enjoyed looking at the stuff.
What stuff?
And the one that we put under the camera.
Oh, looking at things in the digital microscope.
Yeah.
What happened when we looked at things under the digital microscope?
It looked different.
It made it look really big, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Bye.
That was brilliant. I hope you enjoyed what we did with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's on YouTube. I'll send you the link for it.
Thanks. That'd be great.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
I would just like to say, if science had been half as interesting when I was at school, I would have loved it even more. And I liked science, but I think I'll have to come back to school again. It was great to see them.
Good.
Can I add, as the immediate past master, how proud you should be of your children. They were fabulous.
Absolutely.
You very much are. Really, I mean, that says everything you need to know about our children and about the science that we do. We work with such fabulous children, and that shows it. Actually, those lots of those videos come from our Science Week, which we always look forward to every year. But we've also been this year running a science fair, which obviously in other times we would like to do that face to face, but this year we did it a virtual one, so that those who were the children recording science which interested them, and then sending it in for a competition and that sort of stuff. So we had hundreds of entries, which was fabulous to see, and you can see some of the entries, but they excelled themselves yet again with all the wonderful things they did.
We've got some good potential scientists there. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, so
there's one or two potential TV presenters there as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think there may be some TV presenters there as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Captivating, weren't they?
So yeah, so I mean, so really, but I mean, we've just been talking about sort of those sort of children who look like they want to be scientists, and talking about I want to be a scientist, and that aspiration is so important for us, especially down here in Cornwall, and so really that sort of leads us nicely on to sort of the project which we're here to talk about, Launch Aspirations. Now, this is a project which myself and Polly have been working on for a while now, and it's something which is really important to us because it's started by us coming together and talking about how we're doing all these wonderful things with science, but actually they're happening in our individual schools, and it's very bitty, and the idea that putting our sort of efforts into developing sort of resources or provision in one school then didn't have that sort of overall impact and effect across the wider community. So we were sort of thinking of ways which we could possibly do that. And we identified physics as being an area where actually it's a bit more difficult for teachers sometimes to teach, and children showed sort of less understanding in that area. And at the same time, we also had the news that Cornwall Spaceport was going to be something in our area. And obviously that generated a huge amount of excitement for both adults and children alike. And it was something which then we immediately agreed that actually it was something we wanted to use to build on, and capture that sort of imagination and that excitement, and run with it to provide something which would be really beneficial and enriching for the children's science learning. So we sort of came up with our Launch Aspirations, really, and it was to focus on the Year 5 topic of Earth and Space. It's a really sort of well-known and popular topic which children do look forward to, but also it's an area which we found that some teachers found a bit more difficult to teach due to the sort of subject matter and the sort of knowledge required to be able to do it properly. So we kind of came up with that sort of idea of what we were going to do, and basically that's where we get to now, where we hopefully are in the process of getting to the point where we're ready to go. So I'm going to just talk a bit about what the project will look like next, and where we are in this. So there's 3 sections to our project. There's the curriculum provision side, there is the residential part, and also our development of aspirations in particular. So I'm going to start with the curriculum side. So basically what we're doing for the curriculum is that we are developing 4 curriculum boxes, and that's 1 for each hub, as our trust is separated into 4 hubs. What these boxes will do is they will contain all the guidance for teachers and all the resources in order to deliver an enriched and high impact and inspirational half term's worth of learning in science on the Earth. It's something which we think is going to be really impactful as children move up through the school. And obviously, as we're providing it in the year 5, it means that all children in our schools will actually benefit from this project as they move through their school. So it's not just impacting one school, it's not just impacting one year group, it's actually going to be impacting every child as they move through our schools. And that's really exciting to know that that number of children will benefit from this. So really, inside those boxes, as I said, we're resources, but not just resources for teaching and enriched science curriculum on Earth and Space. We're also looking to provide some cross-curricular opportunities and resources as well. So there's also going to be things like a range of books which children will be able to use, including class sets, which teachers will be able to do some shared reading from or focus their literacy and English around. We're looking at opportunities for art, for example, of creating artwork around the Messier objects which appear in the night sky, and things like that. So the idea is to really envelop the children in the learning, providing them with all kinds of exciting opportunities in their curriculum. And through this, then, we're looking for developing that powerful knowledge of Earth and space topic and physics, but also looking at developing their working scientifically skills through a range of different approaches. Now, we'd be lucky, as I mentioned earlier, that we work alongside the Ogden Trust, who particularly are interested in physics, and we've been working alongside them to develop our curriculum as well. And through our partnership with them, we have developed a really robust and hopefully inspirational curriculum children will really enjoy, with lots of really hands-on and real-life activities to take moving forward. So that's sort of the first part, is that curriculum side, which will be happening in the classroom. Yes, Polly?
I was just going to say, Simon, did you want to mention some of the other partners we're lucky to be working with, like the Aviation Heritage Centre and the Astronomy Club? And yeah, we've got quite a few, haven't we? That
yes, I would. So I was going to come to that in the aspirations, but we can talk about that.
Okay.
So so as Polly just said, we've got a lot of partners. Well, Polly, do you want to explain some of the partners?
So it's mainly to do with the Spaceports Cornwall, because the Aviation Heritage Centre are based up at Spaceport Cornwall, and the Astronomy Club are nearby, aren't they? They're in St Column Major. Yep. So those are the main two.
And then we've got Raptor Aviation, which is a company from Leicester who we're working alongside to develop some activities for our residential area. So I think those are sort of our main ones we're working alongside at the moment, but we're looking to increase our sort of connections with this down here in Cornwall. We do have a lot more Good Hilly Earth Station and all kinds of ones which we're looking to see if we can use and develop relationships with. So the idea is that they will contribute towards that curriculum side, but you'll see from what I say later on that we'll be developing hopefully the sort of residential side and the aspirations as well, which will then sort of drip feed throughout the whole entire project with our partnership. So that's the curriculum side. So moving on to our residential part then. So we've got 2 residential boxes. So the idea, if you think, is that each school will be running in a half term their curriculum in Earth and Space, which we are providing. And then as part of that, they will be holding an event. And obviously in recent times, we haven't been able to be doing something like this, but we hope that it will be a residential event where it will be an overnight stay, where we will be providing sort of awe and wonder activities for children to enjoy and take their learning forward. So we mentioned that working with Raptor Aviation, who are a company who actually launch proper rockets into space, and it's all very exciting. So we've been working alongside them to develop sort of the foot stomp rocket launches, but with targets and changing the fins and angles at which you're launching rockets. So there's some really good science and sort of inquiry skills being involved there. And also they've also developed a Lego satellite kit, which is involving mathematics and sort of problem solving in order to work out how to send satellites into space and how to build satellites, etc. And all of this has been developed alongside sort of businesses across the UK. So that's really good. So, and as part of that residential as well, it's about looking at the opportunity we can do with our partners, and we do things like stargazing. So we're lucky enough that we have a stargazing event which we have throughout lots of our schools in Kernow Learning. But the idea is working with our local Kernow Astronomy Society, we're bringing them together into this project so that we offer each school that stargazing experience. And as part of our project, in these residential boxes, they will have everything they need to put on this sort of residential with telescopes and with all the resources they need. They'll also be given tents and sleeping bags and everything else to make it a real experience for the children, which they'll remember for the rest of their lives, and hopefully encourage that aspiration into those future careers, hopefully, which are going to be present in Cornwall as Spaceport Cornwall progresses. So that's the sort of thing which we're looking at with the residential side. And as we mentioned, it's called Launch Aspirations for a reason, and it's working alongside all of those partners we've discussed. And also Space Camp UK has been a great partner as well for helping us develop our residential side of things. And the RAF, we've been working alongside the RAF as well. See all the lots and lots of partners that we keep remembering.
And colleges, all of these colleges too, actually, because the colleges were interested in the career pathways, weren't they? Because obviously Spaceport's going to generate different types of careers.
Absolutely. And so it's through this sort of work that we are looking to then not only have that curriculum enrichment and then that residential awe and wonder. It's about then taking our partnerships and that aspirational things of looking at jobs and meeting people who have careers in those areas and drip feeding those in across their experiences so that those children's aspirations. So our sort of aim is to be that first step on a pathway to be that sort of future career of children wanting to at least be interested in science and go forward in education and have a greater uptake in science in later on. But also as well, like we said, is that that we have exciting opportunities coming up in Cornwall for future careers, and it would be wonderful to think that actually some of the work we're doing inspired children to walk that path and to become scientists of the future who go on to do amazing things. And that would be the dream really. But for all of our children, we just want them excited and interested in the world around them and improving that sort of knowledge. So that's the sort of overall plan of Launch Aspirations, and hopefully you can see how excited we are about it, and the sort of impact which we feel it will have on our children. And like we said before, it's not just about affecting one group of children. It is about affecting all of our children and making a real big thing for them. So where are we now? So our next step is we currently are getting our resource boxes sorted. And that should be done by the summer, and basically we're going to be piloting in the autumn term. So we have 2 schools who will be piloting our kits to begin with, and we'll be taking feedback on that, and then we look then in the spring term to be piloting in more schools after that, and then that gives us the summer term in order just to knuckle down and to take the evaluation and to build from that and make any changes that we need and improve it. And then we look to roll it out across our whole entire trust the following year, where it will go from there. And that's the sort of thing we're looking for. So I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you, because like I said, is that we care an awful lot about our children, and we're very passionate about science which we cover, and to get help in order to make that sort of vision a reality is something which is really special.
I think that's amazing. It really is. I mean, it's so inspiring. I hope that it's an ongoing project that we can stay in touch with. I mean, I know we've got Philip Feather, who's almost on the doorstep with you, and has expressed great interest in learning more about it. And certainly Jenny has also totally inspired with it. Her family have been told all about what's going on. And it is really very, very exciting. And borne out by your own enthusiasm. I mean, goodness me, filling us with so much information.
Eggs and stayed a while.
So, anybody got some questions?
Can we hear a bit more about the astronomy in Cornwall, the project that's I'm sorry, I forget the name of it, but there's a major project in Cornwall. The
Spaceport Cornwall, yes.
Yes, can you tell us what that is exactly? I mean, we living in London are a long way away from you, but we're very interested to hear about it.
Sure. So, Spaceport Cornwall was one of the sort of finalists really for looking at launches to space regarding satellites, etc. And so, whilst we didn't win the overall thing, so I think it was a place in Scotland, I think, which got horizontal. Not the horizontal, the vertical takeoff launches for the satellites. We are in the process of, I think, our first horizontal launch of a satellite in February, isn't it?
February 22, yeah. And it's Virgin Orbital.
Virgin Orbital are launching the first satellite. First satellite. And so I think the overall plan is that we'll be launching satellites from UK and Cornwall, and then the idea is that from that point we hope to build on that, and sky's the limit, really. Potentially sort of space tourism and all those sorts of opportunities in the future, depending on where things go. But it's an exciting project which we would love our children to be involved with. But that's
where are your schools surrounding that space project then?
Many of our schools are in the Newquay area, so we're right on the doorstep.
Five or six are basically on the doorstep there. Easy
and all our schools are within about 40 minutes travel, I would say, of that place. So it is definitely on the doorstep of all our children, and they definitely all know.
I think we'll have to organise a bit of a trip to Newquay one day. I think that's
sounds like a good plan.
Do you have much contact, or are you working with the Goonhilly station, the satellite station? Isn't it part of the spaceport?
It is part, yeah. You go, Simon.
No, after you, Polly. You go for it.
I was going to say they're linked, aren't they? Spaceport Cornwall and Goonhilly. It's all part of the same project. So yeah, we're working. We've had some partnership working with Spaceport Cornwall. During our Space Week, they gave some presentations to the children and did some questions and answers for the children. I think their educational programme will sort of pick up from here, and as Spaceport opens and things, they'll do more with schools. So we're hoping it will build on that and include visits to Goonhilly. I imagine our schools probably already do visits to Goonhilly.
Yeah, some do, but it's sort of it's obviously with the recent restrictions and things like that. It's the residential and sort of opportunity side has had to sort of take a slight back burner. But I think really what we said is across this next year where we're piloting, it's really exploring those opportunities and adding those to what we can give out to schools. So we talked about, for example, the Cornwall Heritage Aviation Centre, which is a museum which has an awful lot of planes from throughout history, and lots of people who work with the colleges and things like that to actually rebuild planes, etc. And so we're working with them at the moment on their sort of educational provision, but also we have schools which go there for visits, etc. And it's a really great place for children to go, and they learn so much. And so sort of we're offering that as part of this project as the opportunity for schools to visit. But we'd also like to build on that and increase that. So there's lots of opportunities to in different places.
And visit, yeah, sort of that interactive out of the school kind of learning, outside learning, yeah.
Does the Met Office in Exeter give you any help at all?
That's not one which we've spoken to yet, but I am more than happy to contact you if you feel that.
I'll make a note of that one.
It's further away than you think.
Oh yes, but even so, because they shifted most of the Met Office people down to Exeter. It was a major move for them, so they've got all the stuff there. So they
but Newquay's quite a long way from Exeter.
It is, but they do have the ability to move to the schools rather than the other way around.
Yeah,
they might. yeah, send some ambassadors or some visitors down to us, mightn't they?
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about the trust itself? It's obviously a very big, all-embracing organisation. How long has it been going? How was it sort of set up, and has it brought enormous benefits?
So in 2019, September 2019, two trusts merged to become one, which was ACE and the TLAT, the Learning Academy Trust. They were already working together through a teaching school called Kernow Teaching School Alliance. So we were already working quite closely together on teacher training, CPD and school improvement. And yeah, so the two trusts merged in 2019. I'm not sure, I don't know when ACE or TLAT started. I haven't got that information off the top of my head, but it's definitely benefiting because we're able to work collaboratively on these types of projects and then make a small amount of resources go a lot further.
Yes. So what I'd say about that, so basically, we've sort of gone through the process of when schools were academized, being a school on your own and having to do it all on your own, and actually being part of this large group means that we've got lots of experts in schools and lots of passionate people who can share their knowledge and also work together. So across our trust, we have leaders. So for example, I lead sort of the science leaders across our trust. And so therefore we have regular meetings where we come together, share our resources, share what we do in school. But that's for all of our subjects. So it's sort of it's a sharing and pooling of knowledge, which then sort of has an impact across our schools and sort of increases our sort of ability to offer improved vision. And also then wider than that, we also work very closely, as Polly said, with the Kernow Teaching Schools Alliance as well, which is not just our trust, but other trusts around. And I think that involves something like about 32 schools or across the local area. And so, for example, I lead the science for that as well. And that involves then all the science teachers coming together once again to share their knowledge and what they're doing in their schools. So we're very much sort of invested in that sharing of knowledge, and having a large academy trust means that we can do that and use everybody to our schools. So it's a really good thing to have on.
So it's nothing but benefits, really.
Yes, absolutely. Stronger together, I think is that phrase, isn't it?
Presumably the funding has improved since the days of being supported by local councils.
Yeah.
Ground, isn't it?
Yes, funding's always an interesting issue, and at the moment, I think all of us have to be very creative with how we do things, and that's why, as I'm lucky enough to lead science across our trust and across wider schools, it's sort of looking at being creative with how we can give this sort of impactful, inspirational project. And if you think about how we're doing it now, we are creating resource boxes which are then moving between our schools. It means that we're sort of keeping the costings down because we're not having to buy that for all our schools, but we're also keeping the impact high because each child is having the benefit of doing it. To be honest, no one school would be able to afford anywhere near.
Yeah. Actually, that was one of the main rationales for this project, actually, wasn't it? It was, the small science budget that exists at the minute, and then how we.
Most schools, unfortunately, would find it very difficult just to keep up with the sort of consumables and adding just a few of the things which they need in science. And so that's what's exciting about this sort of project. It's a new way of thinking, really, of having those centralised resources, which then every school will benefit from across the year, providing that enriched curriculum, which actually lots of teachers in schools would only dream of because they can't afford it themselves. So I think it's sort of really interesting to see how this plays out and whether we can use this sort of idea again in different ways.
Can I, with all your enthusiasm for science, which I think is wonderful because I'd like to have been a scientist myself, but can you say that more children are wanting to do science subjects in GCSE because of the way that you're going about teaching science and are they sparked to become, you know, going on to university in science? Have you time to evaluate that yet?
So we hope so. We hope so. So I mean, it's really hard to track, you know, sort of the children which we're doing it sort of as they move into their sort of further education. However, what we do is that we look at the impact of that we're having in our science provision across our schools. And so what we've seen in our sort of pupil voice questionnaires and things like that is that children are far more inspired by science and are far more excited by it. That we have across our schools been setting up science and STEM clubs, which have seen a lot more children joining and wanting to be a part of. So it's that thing where we're, you know, everything we're doing, which is raising the profile of science in our schools, we are seeing an impact of children who are showing that sort of being inspired by it, and we hope that then that they go on and that continues across the rest.
I'm sure it will. Thank you.
Simon, is the model the model that you've got there, is that being, do you know, followed? Is that likely to be followed elsewhere in the country? Do you think once you've got it up and running, is that something you're sharing with others with a view to that?
Yeah, so like I said, so in my role across the sort of 32 schools at KTSA, it's something which we'll then look at and feed out to those other trusts as sort of, like we said, a pilot to that sort of idea. I would assume that other trusts are doing that because I think it really does make sense to do it that way, because like I said, individual schools on their own would find it very difficult to be able to do that. But I haven't actually, in all the sort of research I've been doing, I don't think I've actually heard of a project which is similar, because in the sort of looking into starting this project up, people have done parts of it, but from what we found is we haven't seen anyone who's put it together. So people have done the curriculum provision, or they've done a residential one overnight stay, for example, or they've got a career fair where people will come in and talk. But to put all three together and have that, I think, is something which I haven't seen.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, because I'm a member of different associations of science and things like that. So the idea is that, you know, following this, it would be starting to share that if it's successful, which I'm sure it will be. It's about then sharing, you know, our findings across and you know, using that as a template for other trusts and other schools if that's what they would like.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think it'd be well worth you having a conversation or a further conversation with Lee, because we've had some interesting developments in the last few weeks, which I think you may well be interested in learning about, which obviously gives an opportunity of replicating exactly what you're doing.
Tell me, are you sort of pan Cornwall? Do you cover the whole of the Cornish area, or are you mainly based around Newquay?
Holly, would you like to
whole. Yeah, so we're Hale, which is sort of southwest. I'm just trying to think the southwest westerly point. Sort of Falmouth.
Yeah,
we do cover all the points, really, don't we?
Yeah, so we're sort of Falmouth. We've got two schools in Falmouth, and we're looking at Mabe as well. We also go up. We have Charlestown in St Austell. And then sort of further north we have us in Bodmin, but we also go higher to Upton Cross and St Hugh as well. And we have our 6 sort of schools in the Newquay area as well, and we have St Agnes. We sort of spread across that sort of central part of Cornwall.
The south coast, like Charlestown, and then also the north coast. So yeah, it does sort of the breadth and width of the county, just not as far as the Lizard, you know, the very point of the tip. We're not on the Isles of Scilly either, but you know.
And you don't go back very far towards the Tamar by the sounds of it either.
No.
No, Liscard sort of area is probably the closest.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm most impressed by your holistic approach and taking it into literature and taking it into art and painting. I think that's absolutely wonderful because it means more. It's not a discrete subject area then. And I'm most impressed by that. Thank you.
Good.
Anne, you wanted to say something, but you're on mute.
With chimes at the wrong moment. Now I forgot what I was going to say. How do you run these trusts? Because the organisation must be pretty high, getting all the schools together to talk about whatever it is you're going to talk about, and just a general organisation. How does that work?
So there's the hub structure that Simon mentioned before. So we sort of split the county into 4. And then there's sort of hub leads, which sort of work with the head teachers within their hubs. And a lot of it's sort of done remotely as well, would you say, Simon? Now that we've got sort of technology, that's really helped because then, you know, it saves all that travelling. But schools do get together, as you know, geographically as well. We do get together.
So we got so we have obviously we have sort of events or training and things like that where all of our trusts comes together, and then it's sort of other times it's just in our hubs where we do our school improvement, and those schools in sort of the geographical areas nearby to each other would then work together more closely. An example would be in February we have a whole trust, and not just trust but the Kernow Teaching Schools Alliance, that's 32 schools in the area coming together for a science training day in February 2022, I think, and that's sort of focusing on developing science capital aspirations and things like that across schools, and that's something which then so you know, for example, me as the science leader for that will then be organising with support to provide. So that's that sort of structure. So we have the overall structure of the CEO and people, and you have sort of people like me who would be then responsible for subjects and bringing those subject leaders together and looking at how we can work together to improve our own subjects.
Those are like group inset. Those are like inset days that we all share. I must say we have had some trust-wide events where all the pupils have come together. They're like had a trust-wide cricket competition, trust-wide football competitions, and the organisation that goes behind that is absolutely immense. It's exhausting.
You must have somebody at the head of all this lot that gets everybody together.
It's usually someone in each school. So so obviously Simon's this science enthusiast and you know, our science lead, and then we have someone, you know, with the football competition who is, you know, a football enthusiast and is happy to sort of bring it all together for the
and our trust-wide science events begin next year, so there's some big ones coming, so good stuff.
Oh, we'll have to come. I agree, Anne.
We'll let you know.
It's very inspiring, all of it. I remember my son at the age of about 12 coming home from school, wreathed in smiles because the chemistry teacher had made an explosion in the class. But it stopped there, which I thought was so awful because up to then he'd been interested. That sparked his interest, but they didn't carry it through. So to hear that that is now happening is wonderful news, and especially at such a young age, because that really makes them think. Thank you.
Could I ask about the impact on you personally as teachers? I mean, for example, Simon, do you get any classroom time teaching yourself?
So I am a full-time teacher. So my roles are that I teach a Year 3 class full-time, and I am also a lower key stage 2 leader. So I run the Year 3-4 teams as well as my science roles as well. So basically I do get some time to focus on science, and this year working alongside the Ogden Trust, I've been lucky enough that they have provided some funding to release me for half a day a week so I can work on some of the science projects I've been starting to. That's it. The rest of it is me.
That's impressive, because there's always a danger that you start developing a sort of head office group, and you're obviously managing to manage without that, but it must put quite a lot of strain on you individually.
Yeah, I'm very lucky to have people. We have a great central team, and Polly, for example, is amazing. So all the stuff which I come up with the ideas and go, hey, let's do this, and then I turn around to Polly and say, how do we get that done? And you know, so we have a great team of people who will work together to ensure that we are successful.
Thank you.
Yes, I think, Master, I think it's time for you to say some words.
Simon and Paul, what am I saying? Paul, Simon and Polly, thank you for an inspiring and professional presentation. Really, the children were delightful and so full of enthusiasm and confidence and and intelligence. It was really inspiring, and I'm hugely impressed by the efforts of the trust. It is so good to realize that the academy system has developed in this way and has enabled much more cooperation between schools, shared use of resources, and really imaginative curricula and teaching programs. The whole thing is most inspiring. And we as glass sellers are very proud to be associated with your wonderful efforts. Lee will tell you how to get the money, except he's disappeared. He's come back again. Lee is in touch with you about getting the money. No longer do we do checks, but it's all online and modern IT. But clearly your application impressed the charity trustees enormously. We know you'll put it to good use. We look forward to hearing more from you about it and to hear more about the implementation of your projects. And dare I say it, because I'm not a trustee of the charity, if you want some more, come back and ask for it. And that's over to Chairman Lee, who will perhaps meet your wishes. But congratulations on wonderful efforts, and thank you so much for spending your busy time with us. It's been a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.
And thank you, I should have said really, to Jenny. Thank you so much for agreeing to allow dear Michael's
my goodness
legacy to the lecture, the takings from the lecture the other day, to be put to this amazing use. And I hope you feel they're doing you proud.
I think he would have been tickled pink by it and loved every minute of this. You know, he's a great enthusiast for charity and for children. So absolutely, no doubt about it.
Great.
All right.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for attending and wish you all well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Have a lovely afternoon, everybody.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Look forward to hearing how you